Welcome to the Friday news dump. What are we, a radio show? Here at That's Good Sports, I am Brandon. I haven't been this excited about playoff quarterback matchup since we got the OG Brock Lobster, leading the Texans to a victory over the Connor Cook-led Raiders. Today, though, I want to shine a light on these bench warmers starting in their first ever playoff games, touch on some NFL headlines, and reveal how Mac Jones did the unthinkable and went behind Lord Belichick's back. Oh, that's good sports. Please, subscribe to this YouTube channel, especially if you want a better sex life in 2023. What? That's right. My New Year's resolution was to help all of your penises. Today's sponsor, Roman, has made it their mission to help the millions of men who deal with erectile dysfunction with prescription ED treatments that are safe, FDA approved, and used by millions of men, and most importantly, are effective. They simply work. 52% of men will deal with erectile dysfunction in their life, and if my math is correct, that's more than half. More than half. Roman allows you to connect discreetly with a licensed medical professional via an online visit, and you won't even have to go to the pharmacy, as Roman will ship your medication with free 2-day shipping, meaning fast-acting, stronger erections will be waiting at your doorstep. Imagine the sight to see. Right now with my link below, you can save 20% off so you can resume 100% of your erection. That's ro.co/thatsgood. Link below for your 20% discount at Roman. Now, before I get to the dick jokes, we do have a really positive piece of news. Peyton Hillis has been taken off a ventilator and is breathing on his own. Now, Hillis was originally hospitalized after he saved his 2 children from drowning off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. They got caught up in a riptide, and Hillis activated hero mode. Now, Hillis was reportedly having severe issues with his lungs and his kidneys after the incident, but is now showing improvement, though his girlfriend says he still has a long way to go. All right, now the NFL has selected the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, where the Falcons play, for the neutral site if the Chiefs and Bills make it to the championship game. The obvious joke here is that this is the closest the Falcons will get to a playoff game for a while. And it would have been the joke for any of these neutral sites, considering they got to be non-playoff teams, right? That's the low-hanging fruit, but the funniest thing, in my opinion, is knowing Andy Reid will be crestfallen when he learns that the Chick-fil-A inside the stadium will indeed still be closed on game day. Just kidding. Andy Reid don't give a shit about no chicken sandwich. That is a burger man. A loyal burger man. Jets owner Woody Johnson confirms what we've all been speculating, that the Jets will open their checkbook for a veteran free agent QB or trade for one to improve the team. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson stated, "I told you I didn't let the team down. I just forced them to upgrade my position this offseason. You're welcome, New York." Now, Derek Carr posted this long, heartfelt message on social media saying goodbye to Raiders Nation. And with a literacy rate of 33%, 67% of Raiders fans have no idea how much Carr loved them. In a very classy move, though, Mark Davis plans on releasing a picture book to help those Raiders fans see Carr's words. The Raiders will also see what kind of trade market is out there for Carr. The market will be strong, but again, with his no trade clause, Carr has to approve a trade, and why would he do that when he knows the Raiders will have to cut him? Sure, he could help them out, or he could help out his next team by not forcing them to give up key assets to acquire him. Now, I have no clue where Derek Carr lands, but I will rule out one place: the Saints. The Saints do not have a first-round draft pick, and they are in cap hell. And with Michael Thomas's injury history, Alvin Kamara's status for 2023 up in the air, they are not an appealing destination. New Orleans is $53 million over the cap right now, and while we all know that can change quickly, I don't know how adding a QB like Carr with cap hits of 34, 43, and 43 million are an option for the Saints. And yes, the Saints could get a first-round draft pick via a Sean Payton trade, but that does not help their money problem, and there's no guarantee that pick will be for this year. All right, I'm gonna say this about Mac Jones. He's got some giant balls on him. A couple things went wrong for Mac Jones this season. First, he was gifted 2 failed head coaches with no experience on the offensive side of the ball as offensive coordinators in Pencil Dick and the Judge. He also suffered that high ankle sprain, and he hit the sophomore slump. The holy trinity of things you don't want to see with a second-year QB. I did an entire McCorkle-Jones episode a few weeks ago if you want to know more about his situation, but yesterday I read an article about Mac Jones seeking help behind Bill Belichick's back. Ooh, Jones was in jeopardy of losing his job to Bailey Zappi and wasn't getting any help from Pencil Dick and the Judge, so Jones was livid with the situation. Now, Chris Sims reported that Jones let people know he was unhappy and called people asking for help with offensive ideas. Now, Chris Sims was pretty vague about any details and essentially alluded to this conclusion. Mac Jones sought help outside the company lines, Belichick found out, and then put Mac Jones in his place. Maybe this is a non-story, okay? Or maybe the Patriots really are done with Mac Jones. Bill Belichick is widely considered the best coach of all time. So, to have a second-year QB asking for help outside of your staff, at the very least, shows a fracturing relationship of trust there. Mac Jones has got Michelangelo, okay? Michelangelo. And he's making call to house painters around the league to see if they can fix his offense. It's a little bizarre. But he's not wrong, which is what's crazy. Belichick putting Patricia in at OC is a dumb move. We thought it might work because of Belichick, but if anybody else did that, they would be fired, especially with the results they got. Now, the Patriots chose Bill Belichick over Tom Brady, so in terms of leverage, Mac Jones has less than probably Skylar Thompson right now. But New England is about to interview offensive coordinator candidates, and if Jones can just suck it up, kiss some Belichick ass for one more offseason, I think with the right OC, he could have a big bounce back year. I'm on Jones' side here, but he's got to check that ego at the door and go all in on the Patriot way. Then, demand a trade as soon as he gets great. Okay, Mac? That's what you do. And today's weird backup quarterback playoff matchups are brought to you by BenchwarmerBrew.com. My coffee company, and we just launched the Losers Blend for all the suck-ass loser team fans out there who got nothing good in their life. Cause your losing team lost like the losers they are. It's a medium dark roast. It's so good that you don't even deserve it, you loser. This is the most honest thing I've ever made. Cause it's me. I'm the loser. All right, the big story today, for me anyway, the 2022/23 wildcard round might go down as having one of the most bizarre groups of playoff quarterbacks we've ever seen. The least experienced, for sure. Now, we've got a few players we definitely expected to make the playoffs. Brady, Dak, Hurts, Cousins, Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. I will say, though, this is what happens when you add a 7th seed and when guys like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and to a lesser extent Ben Roethlisberger are no longer shoo-ins for the playoffs every season. That opens up the door for names like Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, Justin Herbert, and Dan Jones, who are all about to start in their first playoff games. And while that group is a little bit surprising, it's not even the meat of this crazy wildcard round. And from that group, maybe the least surprising QB here is Justin Herbert, who was just a tie away with the Raiders from getting in a year ago. Unfortunately, I'm not sure his coach knows that they actually qualified for the postseason and has already shifted his focus to the 2023 NFL Draft, which he'll probably be doing for another team. As for Herbert's opponent, Trevor Lawrence, I've never seen a near bust acquit himself and shed the bust tag so quickly. It turns out that going from the worst coach of all time to a guy who won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles is actually pretty helpful. But again, mild surprises considering where those quarterbacks were drafted, right? This group is actually defined, though, by Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Skylar Thompson, and Tyler Huntley / possibly Anthony Brown if Huntley's shoulder doesn't last a full game. Those 4 quarterbacks starting in this postseason has to be the most unlikely NFL scenario of all time. Considering the lengths the NFL has gone to protect quarterbacks, I do not think we will ever see this again. Tom Brady has more playoff starts than all the wildcard quarterbacks combined. Maybe all of the QBs, who knows. Geno Smith cooled off a little bit at the end of the season, but still tossed 30 touchdowns and made a Pro Bowl in a season where we expected Drew Lock to get the starting gig. If you remember, right before the season, Adam Sheen from CBS Sports called the battle between Lock and Smith the most embarrassing, saddest, pathetic QB competition of all time. Nope. Turns out that title still belongs to Geno Smith and his own teammate's fist. As for Daniel Jones, it's kind of a shocker that he's gone from a walking fumble machine to the safest QB in the tournament with just 8 turnovers the whole season. He's got the fewest yards per attempt of all the full-time starters in the playoffs, but you could also make the case that he's working with the most limited group of receivers. His leading receivers this year were Darius Slayton with 724 yards, Richie James with 569, and Kenny Golladay, who caught 6 passes. But again, nobody predicted the Giants to even be in the playoffs this season. Then we have the guys who are here pretty much via happenstance, right? After getting the best year out of Tua they could have hoped for, the Dolphins are down to a rookie third-string QB out of Kansas State, Skylar Thompson, who, believe it or not, is actually older than Tua, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Jalen Hurts, who have all been in the league for multiple years. I think Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater's performance this year is proof that Mike McDaniel's scheme isn't as quarterback friendly as we thought, and maybe Tua deserves an ounce of credit for playing the way he did. Moving on to the Ravens, they faced the Bengals last week with a rookie of their own, former Oregon QB Anthony Brown, who actually managed over 300 yards in the loss. But this week, they should get Tyler Huntley back. Over the last 2 seasons, Huntley has started 8 games, winning 3 of them. Huntley has never started a game against Cincinnati, who's beaten the Ravens 3 of their last 4 meetings. Regardless of who's played QB for Baltimore, Huntley has been dealing with a shoulder and a wrist injury, I think both to the throwing arm, and he just started throwing again this week at practice. And technically, I think he's still going to be a game time decision, but that might also just be some gamemanship. And like the Giants, it's not like the Ravens have any crazy receiving weapons outside of Mark Andrews. Finally, you have the unlikeliest hero of them all, Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. And let me tell you folks, he might actually be pretty relevant. See what I did there? Unlike the other QBs getting their first playoff start, Purdy is expected to win and get his team to the Super Bowl. Mr. Irrelevant is expected to be a Super Bowl QB. Do you know how batshit crazy that is in the NFL? It's crazy. I've got a deep dive into those Purdy balls coming up next week, but I would just like to briefly point out that in a smaller sample size, Brock Purdy is averaging 8.1 yards per attempt, which is tied for second in the league with Patrick Mahomes and trails only Tua. Now, Purdy has already defeated the Seahawks once this season in Seattle, and well, I mean, he's never lost. So that's a pretty impressive resume heading into your first playoff game. Out of all the backups that have been thrust into a playoff start, he's the only one that might inspire more confidence than the incumbent starter. He doesn't have the experience of Jimmy G, someone who started 6 playoff games in his career, but on the other hand, he's better at playing quarterback than Jimmy G, so I think that balances itself out. And the most impressive thing about Brock is he seems to be unshakable. He has that it factor. Don't you dare prove me wrong, Brock, and lose to the Seahawks. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Weird quarterback wildcard weekend. Make sure you come back for the live streams this weekend. I'm gonna live stream the Chargers game, and then Tom and I will co-stream the Bills-Dolphins game. And of course on Monday, best and worst of all the NFL action. It'll be Monday night after the game.